A good Sunday early afternoon, Roger Hill of Wuthering Heights. This weather video is driven by 802cars.com, representing 802 Toyota, Twin City Subaru, and 802 Honda. They're located off of Exit 7 on Interstate 89. Looking at the remnants of Hurricane Delta across the southeast United States, all these rain shower occurring at these stations. And of course, this track is going to be along the New England coast, but it's really not going to be a big factor for us. Instead, it's going to supply us with a little bit more moisture on Tuesday. Big ridge of higher pressure off to the west. A couple of real nice days the rest of today, Sunday, as well as all of Monday. The only exception is there'll be just a little bit of rain shower activity, sort of nudging up near the Massachusetts-Vermont border. It's really not going to be a big factor at all. Out here is a big trough of lower pressure, and that's what's building up that ridge. So this trough of lower pressure is producing some pretty good winds. It's a fairly sharp, potent system. It's going to be heading east, and we'll take a look at some of the computer modeling. But the way the temperature layout is across the country right now, the lower 48 into southern Canada, you can see colder air to the north, warmer air to the south, and each one of these troughs that become a full latitude trough have a tendency to dig up some of that warmer air and then supply it northeast bound. And that's what we are going to see, it looks like, eventually later in the period, probably not until Thursday afternoon. And you're looking at precipitable water on the European model. And indications of the heavier moisture, the higher moisture end, of course, is in these reds. This is near normal in the white. And then below normal, drier air. You can see drier air masses and so forth. That's what's over us here on this Sunday morning and Sunday afternoon. And you can see how this works in. So that moisture associated with Hurricane Delta, the remnants, which is going to try to make a little bit of a slice into the far southern parts of Vermont. Now, eventually that moisture is kind of coming apart, and it'll hook up with that trough of lower pressure that's off to the west of us. This is the frontal boundary, and so we do get a little bit of that moisture enhanced as it moves through Vermont. This is valid about on Tuesday, when we're going to see, well, maybe some moderate to locally heavier shots of precipitation yet once again. Not a huge amount, though. It looks like we have a better chance with the full latitude trough redeveloping. It gets dry again for another good session of project weather days. It looks like on Wednesday and Thursday, and then a little bit of a gradient wind issue on Thursday, just out ahead of this short wave. You can see it's fairly moisture starved, doesn't have any sources from the ocean and whatnot, but you can kind of see how that works if the front gets stalled. And then we get that full latitude trough, where a big digging trough is going to start to feed up some of that subtropical and tropical moisture out of the Gulf of Mexico, the adjacent parts of the western Atlantic, and that'll be arriving all on Friday and into Friday night and Saturday, just beyond the period. You can see that it really does concentrate off to the north and east of our region, and this is swinging in a little jet stream energy, and also some colder air behind it will lower the snow levels perhaps down to, say, 2,000, 2,500 feet, 3,000 feet, somewhere in that area. And so we could see a little dusting of snow, maybe even a little bit more than a dusting in some of our local mountaintops as we head toward this coming weekend. This is valid, by the way, just beyond the period on Saturday, and I'll take you beyond that. It looks like high pressure builds in for settled weather on Sunday, and then we have another little shortwave trough that's going to start to pick up some of that moisture coming out of the Gulf of Mexico. That's way beyond the period, however. Okay, this is precipitation using precipitation type here. This is in snow, basically, where you see the bluer purple colors, and of course green is rain. This is the moisture working in from the remnants of Delta. You see that area of higher pressure kind of putting the block on it for further north. This is valid late overnight and then early Monday morning. You can see some of that precipitation just makes a little bit of a track into the Vermont-Massachusetts border. So there's a caveat there for you on Monday, where we'll probably have just a little bit of precipitation in the far southern areas, not affecting the rest of the state, but cloudier conditions. That area of higher pressure then pushes away. We got a little bit of a moisture feed here with some much needed rainfall once again occurring during the day on Tuesday into Tuesday evening. That pushes away. High pressure builds in across the eastern seaboard. really the eastern U.S. Affected by that. Not especially strong, but it's going to give us another couple dry days as it looks right now, basically Wednesday and Thursday. We're going into the Wednesday night period here. A little bit of a pressure gradient, probably some channeling winds across the Champlain Valley. That'll be valid during the day on Thursday. And then things kind of set up in an elongated fashion as another buckle in the jet stream occurs, and that full latitude trough begins to pull up some subtropical moisture. And this is valid going into the period into Friday night. And then you can see a 993 area of low pressure, fairly significant. That's going to move along a kind of a coastal low off to the east. Now, this is going to be in flux. It'll change a million times. So again, this is right at the very end of the period, or just beyond really into Saturday morning. But note here, we do have a little bit of snow in the forecast in the higher Green Mountains and Adirondacks and adjacent White Mountains and so forth. And you're looking at the total QPF. We'll go back to the 3-hourly QPF with the main two areas here. We're seeing this on Tuesday and again on Friday, this coming weekend and so forth. Now the total QPF, a little healthier. We're looking at the first round around 2,500s, 3/10 of an inch, and then a better shot once we get late in the week here on Friday with that moisture feed coming up the eastern seaboard. So that's the good news there. This is a 7-day total QPF. Indicating here around a ½ inch up to about 1 inch amounts. The European model is much more bullish, a lot more moisture coming in, and so it's more like 2.5 inches total through the period here with above normal precipitation for a change. I'm going to lean toward the European model. I think this is just a little bit old. And here's where we are on temperature. You can see going back to temperature anomaly, you can see a colder air mass coming in out of Canada and so forth, but we're right on the edge of that, and this indeed is part of that frontal system that has now worked into this region on this particular day, Sunday. There's 2-meter temperatures, and I have a plot, of course, a graphic included with the outlook. Take a look at that. You can see the overlay and the differences in the computer modeling, but basically by Thursday we get into some of the warmest weather, with the European giving us a temperature basically in the low 70s at that point. And then a pretty sharp cutoff to colder weather, and of course we start out with that cooler air mass. And as I mentioned, as we go into Saturday, late in the weekend, Friday night into Saturday, we could see a little bit of a downfall in temperature going below 32 degrees, the 0 degree centigrade line here. This is 850 hectopascal, about the top elevation of Mount Mansfield or so. Moss-weighted trends for the next 5 days of high temperatures is about 3 degrees above normal, and about 3 days later, a little closer to neutral, but remaining about 3 degrees above normal as well. Things are still active in the Atlantic, but not as much as we kind of make that climatological slide as the oceans begin to cool just a little bit anyway. This is about 10% chance of cyclone formation. Earlier it was about 20%, and this would be the next threat to the Lesser Antilles and so forth. And over the next 5 days we have about a 20% chance, and again we'll keep a watch on anything that may develop once again and do this. But this has been the pattern here going around the Bermuda High. But who knows? We could see one curve out to sea. That's it from here. Roger Hill, Wuthering Heights. Thanks for watching.